meant to post this before too, but since we're going down the whole, line of how common this actually is within this country with the parental child abduction or issues with foreigners in custody and court and things like that, let's go down the line here. So this did happen a couple years ago. There was a foreigner who had, had children with a Korean man. Let me see here. I'm trying to go through it very slowly for you guys. So as you can see here, joint custody in Korea does not exist. It's not even a concept. I have joint custody over my 2 children from my past marriage because the ruling was done in the US and thus transferred over here. So it's proven that it legally is possible, yet the courts always seem to, go for one sole parent having the full custody of the child. Getting visitations as well is quite hard. So there's really no system in place caring about the child having both parents involved. The system's really geared towards making, the separation and divorce easier for the parents and not having to deal with each other. And I do feel that it prioritizes, the peace and the starting over of the parents and easily being able to get remarried, easily being able to not deal with each other over, sometimes what's best for the child to have both parents involved. It has been proven, that divorce so much isn't the issue, especially in the States, that how you parent together and co-parent is what really affects the child's perception of divorce. So it's not necessarily the parents being separated, but how they take it out on each other and how they show up for their children together post-divorce by co-parenting. Going back to the story here, one moment. Sorry. Going back to the story here, I read this a couple months ago. Basically, it had been, a foreign woman who had children with someone from here. One second here. My bad. I clicked on the wrong thing because I was getting ahead of myself here. My apologies. But that article did show how, joint custody is non-existent here, but in my case, it is absolutely legally possible. I can prove so because I do have my court order from the US transferred over to here, and if my ex-husband were to live here, we would both share joint parenting time, joint custody. So if they tell you it's not possible, it absolutely is. So moving on to this, foreign parents, and this is as of 2021, there was the perception that if you do not speak the language well enough, that, you maybe cannot raise your child in Korea very well, which with the amount of English teachers here and already foreign children from dual foreign national spouses, some of them, both being from foreign countries and them speaking English or growing up in English-speaking schools, private academies, things like that, I find this very unnecessary. But anyway, foreign parents can win child custody despite Korean language limitations. So this was basically a case where the Supreme Court overturned a lower court, a lower court decision that granted parental rights and custody solely to the Korean man in a divorce suit with his wife of Vietnamese nationality. Now, I have met tons of parents who don't necessarily speak English or Korean. They might speak Spanish, they might speak Vietnamese, they might have family who moved overseas to here to be, as a grandmother, caregiver to their child while they're working. So they do have a support system. It's not that they're all here alone like I am currently in the situation. Now, moving on to that, some of these people, who might not speak Korean, who are spouses, they do have that support system. It's not like they're here alone, as I stated. So basically, the married couple in 2015, gonna skip over that for privacy reasons, even though it's here. It's not fully important for the video. So the woman sought custody of her daughter after the divorce, saying although she's not fluent in Korean, she has a job, so she has an income. She's taking care of the girl with help from her child's grandmother. So the Korean husband claimed himself to be a proper custodian, and he said he would refuse to provide any child support payments if his wife were the given custody or the given caregiver. So here you see the court's already aware of the fact that, the husband's intentions are not to provide for his child or make sure his child is fine. He just wants the child. The woman, on the other hand, asserted that he doesn't have a job and thus lacks financial capacity to take full responsibility for the child. I will not comment on that because I know different people have their family helping them, such as me currently, but we see, the woman does have a job in this situation. There's nothing really wrong with everything going on. Both the local and higher courts gave the father parental rights and child custody. So you can see how there's kind of an unfair thing going on here, saying the mother did not have the Korean language ability necessary for child rearing. So if this is the case, why are we allowing, I know this is an old ruling, but if this is the case, why are they letting foreigners come in and get married and have children to even be legal if they're going to go and turn this around on them during a divorce or a custody hearing and not treat them as equals then? The courts also said the daughter's grandmother, who would take care of the girl while the mother was working, also doesn't speak Korean, and this may negatively affect the child's education and language learning. Okay, so what will we argue when the children of, Korean nationals are going to English school every day? They're also learning another language. They're also bilingual. I don't see a problem with this. However, the Supreme Court ruled otherwise, saying the mother had fully raised the daughter during the separation and that she is as fit as her Korean husband as a parent when considering the nurturing environment, financial capacity, and emotional bonding she provides to her child, which to me would be the most important parts. And let's step back for a second. If this would be two Korean national spouses, they would have considered the fact that she's the main person raising her child and nurturing her child, especially if her child was under the age of 2, I believe is what I've been told, as a big indicator that she should have the child custody with the child at a younger age. So this is very weird to me. Seems very biased. Moving on. Again, I don't know the whole case. It is said the lower courts should note that evaluating a parent's Korean language skills in child custody cases may have stemmed from or may result in discrimination. There you go there. It is also important for a child to understand the native language and culture of a foreign parent because that helps the child develop self-esteem. Now let's take a step back here. It is true, same for what's going on currently with my son. Yes, he may be Korean. He may have the background from his family of that. He may have the language. I want him to grow up with that. I am so proud of him to have that in his life. But looking back on that as well, he is just as much my son. And this goes for all foreign parents here. He just as much, needs to know about his mother. He needs to know about his mother's language to bond with her. He needs to know about his mother's family. He needs to, growing up without my biological dad, even though I knew my biological dad didn't need to be around me and wasn't a good person, that's why my mother had left when I was, a baby, I never really was curious about him. But I do admit, as a child, you grow up and you hear everyone comparing how you're so much like your dad, you're so much like your mom. And when you have that one parent missing or you don't get to know about them, it does affect your self-esteem. You wonder about yourself. You wonder where the other half comes from. Is the other half of you and your attributes or things about you wrong? So this is what they're pointing at when they say develop self-esteem. You have to know a bit of where you come from. You have to engage with that. You have to, know the person that gave birth to you or your mother or your father love you. And, putting the other mother or father down just because they are not a national of the country they're living in, or putting down the fact that they're using their native language is not a great way to help develop the child's self-esteem. So here you can see the underlying discrimination in the court system. This was from a few years back, but it's not too long ago. I mean, we're talking about less than 5 years ago. And I'm really glad that the Supreme Court handled that well. So just putting this out there, to help anybody who's in a similar situation have kind of a grasp, or if you're thinking about getting married and moving over here and having children, maybe take just a second thought about it and compare it to what you would think would be normal laws or processing in your home country. So anyway, guys, again, I'm here to hope that you guys never fall into the absolute horrible situation I am currently in. I mean, you never have to feel the pain of your child being taken from you, especially in such a precious time that's supposed to be about bonding and love and body recovery from childbirth and things like that. If I'm going to have to go through this, I at least want it to be, a public service announcement to other people not to have to go through it. I want it to mean something. I wanted to contribute to something bigger. My daughter's life right now is also in a lot of shambles. They miss their brother. They don't understand why they went from such a nice big environment and house to kind of living in such a small apartment right now until the divorce is over and we figure out finances and we figure out what we're doing next and their brother's case and all of that. So it's affecting so many people, and I don't want it to affect your family as well. Reach out to me if you have any stories you would like me to share for you. I will keep your name anonymous, but I do think the more people who reach out to me telling me they have similar cases or something within this vicinity